this presentation on attachment theory and research in developmental psychology. Today, we'll be diving into an overview of this important field, but also taking a critical look at the research and concepts that have shaped our understanding. I'm excited to explore with you the history, key ideas, and the latest findings that define attachment theory. Let's get started. In this presentation, we'll begin by exploring the purpose and scope of our topic, followed by a look into its historical roots. We'll then dive into Bowlby's theory and discuss attachment as a normative aspect of human development. After that, we'll examine attachment across different stages, including infancy, childhood, and adulthood. We'll also cover key hypotheses and evidence supporting these concepts, discuss the boundaries of attachment, and finally, consider the future directions for attachment research. This structure will guide us through a comprehensive understanding of attachment throughout the presentation. This slide highlights the two main purposes of the chapter. First, it lays out the core focus by presenting the fundamentals of Bowlby's attachment theory, along with the key methods used to test these ideas and evaluate the evidence. This helps new scholars build a solid foundation in understanding the theory. Second, it offers a critical perspective through an appreciative critique, which contrasts the traditional, canonical views with what empirical research actually shows, paying particular attention to meta-analyses. Together, these points ensure that we gain both a clear understanding and a thoughtful evaluation of attachment theory research. Starting in the early 1900s, Freud emphasized that early experiences in infancy play a crucial role in shaping personality development later in life. Moving into the 1940s, the drive reduction theory suggested that infants form bonds with their mothers primarily because the mother satisfies basic physical needs like hunger. However, in the 1950s, Harlow and Zimmerman challenged this view through their famous studies with infant primates. Their experiments showed that monkeys preferred a comforting cloth mother over a wire mother that provided food, highlighting the importance of comfort and emotional security over mere physical needs. Finally, from the 1940s to the 1950s, Bowlby and Robertson systematically studied how children respond to maternal separation, identifying distinct stages of protest, despair, and attachment. This work laid the foundation for modern attachment theory by deepening our understanding of how early relationships influence emotional development. Taken together, these milestones trace the historical evolution of how we understand the bonds between infants and caregivers. Bowlby's theory centers on the idea of behavioral control systems, which regulate the behaviors infants display to stay close to their mother, especially when they feel threatened or separated. This closeness or proximity is crucial from an evolutionary perspective because it increases the infant's chances of survival by keeping them near a caregiver who can provide protection and care. To maintain this proximity, infants instinctively perform attachment behaviors like clinging, sucking, and calling out. These actions are hardwired responses aimed at keeping the caregiver close. Over time, through experiences with their caregiver, infants develop internal working models. These are mental frameworks or cognitive maps that guide their expectations and behaviors in future relationships. These models shape how they approach attachment throughout life. Let's walk through the 4 phases of attachment development, based on Bowlby's theory. In the first phase, infants respond to any caregiver without distinguishing one person from another. They signal their needs broadly to elicit care from various adults around them. Moving to the second phase, infants begin to focus their attachment behaviors on one or more specific caregivers. They start directing their social signals preferentially toward these particular figures. By the third phase, infants actively use locomotion, along with signals like crying or reaching, to maintain close proximity to their chosen caregivers. This creates a secure base from which they can explore the world safely. Finally, in the fourth phase, children develop what Bowlby calls a goal-corrected partnership. They internalize caregivers as separate individuals and form mental representations. This enables them to plan behavior and maintain attachment even when apart. It's important to remember these phases blend gradually into each other, reflecting the continuous and dynamic nature of attachment development over time. Here we have the key methods used to assess attachment in infancy. The strange situation procedure is our primary laboratory tool. It's designed to observe how infants use their caregiver as a secure base and a safe haven, especially during separations and reunions. This controlled setting helps us identify different attachment patterns. Next, we have the attachment classifications. These include secure attachment, anxious avoidance, anxious ambivalence or resistance, and disorganized or disoriented patterns. Each classification reflects distinct ways infants respond to their caregiver's presence and absence, giving us valuable insight into their emotional bonds. Finally, the attachment cue set offers a complementary approach. Unlike the strange situation, it is used in naturalistic settings, like the infant's home, over longer observation periods. This helps us capture secure base behaviors in real-world environments, broadening our understanding of infant attachment beyond the lab. Together, these methods give us a comprehensive picture of early attachment quality. As children grow, their attachment evolves from simply staying close to a caregiver to becoming more aware of the caregiver's availability, even when they're not physically present. This shift marks the beginning of how children form mental models of relationships based on their early experiences. To understand these changes, we use several key assessment methods. The modified strange situation is an extended observation where children experience longer separations to see how they seek comfort and use their caregiver as a secure base. Next, the attachment cue set takes place in the child's home environment. It uses descriptive cards to evaluate behaviors that reflect a child's secure base functioning in natural, everyday settings. Finally, representational assessments explore how children internalize attachment through storytelling and creative expression. Techniques like the separation anxiety test with picture responses, the attachment story completion task using dolls, and family drawings help us tap into the child's inner representations of attachment relationships. Together, these methods give us a well-rounded understanding of how attachment develops and is expressed during childhood. On this slide, we focus on how attachment is studied in adulthood using narrative-based assessments. First, we have the adult attachment interview, which assesses adult states of mind regarding their early attachment experiences. It analyzes the coherence of their narratives and classifies them into categories like secure autonomous, dismissing, preoccupied, or unresolved. This helps us understand how adults mentally process their early relationships. Then there's the attachment script assessment, which evaluates adults' access to a secure base script by examining the coherence of their attachment-related stories. Essentially, it looks at how well adults can create narratives that reflect a secure attachment framework. Together, these two approaches give us a comprehensive view of adult attachment by exploring both their reflective states of mind and their narrative representations. Here we have a summary of the key hypotheses and evidence in attachment theory research. First, the universality hypothesis, which shows that attachment behaviors are nearly universal across cultures, with infants forming strong bonds to their primary caregivers. Next is the normativity hypothesis, highlighting that most attachment relationships are secure, though insecure attachments can sometimes be adaptations to specific circumstances. The antecedents hypotheses focus on how parental sensitivity partially predicts attachment security, but there's still much to understand about how attachment patterns pass from one generation to the next. The stability and lawful change hypotheses reveal that attachment security tends to be moderately stable from infancy through adulthood, but it does change depending on the caregiving environment. Finally, the competence hypothesis connects secure attachment to better social functioning and a lower risk for certain psychological problems. Together, these points provide a comprehensive picture of the current understanding and ongoing questions in attachment research. Let's begin by clarifying the difference between attachment and bonding. Attachment refers to a probabilistic theory, focusing on behaviors that establish a secure base and a safe haven for the child, allowing them to explore and feel protected. In contrast, bonding is more deterministic, emphasizing the immediate emotional connection that forms right after birth. So, while bonding is about that first emotional tie, attachment develops over time through ongoing interactions. Next, it's important to distinguish attachment from temperament. Attachment is about secure base behaviors, how a child seeks comfort and security, while temperament reflects an individual's inherent personality traits. They are conceptually and empirically distinct, meaning one does not simply predict the other. Research into genetic and environmental influences shows that genetics have only a minimal role in attachment security. Instead, Shared and non-shared environments play a major role, highlighting how experiences and surroundings shape attachment patterns. Finally, disorganized attachment emerges when caregivers become a source of fear rather than safety. This creates conflicting behaviors in the child, as they struggle to reconcile seeking comfort from someone they also perceive as threatening. This breakdown in attachment strategies is a crucial concept to understand. Taken together, these points help set clear boundaries for what attachment theory explains, cautioning against overgeneralizing or confusing it with related but distinct concepts. As we look to the future of attachment research, several key directions stand out. First, understanding the latent structure of attachment is critical. This means delving deeper into the two main dimensions, avoidance and anxiety, and potentially reevaluating previous conclusions to sharpen our frameworks. Next, the transmission gap highlights the subtle, often hidden ways attachment security is passed across generations. It's not just about what parents do on the surface, but the mechanisms underlying that transmission, which need more focused investigation. Another important area is the non-shared environment, where we study how individual siblings experience different influences that shape their unique attachment patterns, explaining why even children in the same family can differ so much. Integrating nature and nurture remains essential. Progress depends on combining genetic, neurobiological, and environmental insights to get the full picture of how attachment develops. Finally, developmental transitions are a major frontier. We must understand how attachment targets evolve throughout life, such as shifting from parental bonds in childhood to romantic relationships in adulthood. Together, these themes set an exciting and comprehensive agenda for advancing attachment research into the future.